everyone. We had some recording issues because a fire alarm went off during our recording, so I'm here to formally introduce today's guest. Today's guest has a whopping 52 credits to his name and growing on IMDb. He is an actor, musician, writer, producer, and yoga fanatic, among many other things. He has starred in the lead in Jim's Room, which is currently doing its festival rounds, and many other projects we will get into shortly. When he's not being creative, he's spending time with his son, doing yoga or martial arts in weird public places, or simply crying about the beauty of humanity in a bathtub. You may have seen him in commercials for Pizza Pizza, Kit Kat, Oddshark, TurboTax, Fisherman's Friend. A man who seems to know absolutely everyone in the Toronto entertainment industry and the king of networking and indie films. Today's conversation is with none other than Michael Masurkevitch. Enjoy.
Now that the fire alarm has started, we are going to get back to the podcast. Thanks for whoever pulled the fire alarm in Stairwell D. Alrighty, now back to acting. So when did you... Yeah, that's good. So when did you start your acting career? Like, did you always want to be an actor and then life changed and you tried other things, or
yeah,
did it
that's
find
pretty
you
accurate.
later? Yeah?
Yeah, and then when I was in my 20s, I had a quarter-life crisis.
Nice.
I wanted to coin that term with my friend. We almost did a podcast. We didn't.
You have to have a quarter-life crisis.
Well, it's way better than a midlife crisis.
It's a way of passing. It's it's like going through puberty, but mentally.
That's right. It's like there's puberty, then there's QLC, quarter life crisis.
Yes.
Then there's midlife crisis, MLC, which is like if you wait until you're 50 to realize you're deeply unhappy with the path of your life.
That's true. I think it would be a
what do you have
worse
left?
midlife crisis if you didn't go through the quarter life crisis.
Yeah. Now, I gotta tell you, I have a crisis on a yearly basis. Typically, once
birthday?
a year. I have two crises on a yearly basis.
Christmas and your birthday?
Yeah. Usually it's like mid-January where the film industry typically slows down, and I'm looking at the remnants of my life being like, okay, why did we start acting? I'm not rich, I'm not famous. And I love what I do. I love every moment of it. I've accepted that my pathological need for attention was just what had to bring me to what I now love for its own intrinsic value. But also, I'm not rich, I'm not famous, I'm 35, I live in my parents' basement, and my son makes fun of me for being a loser all the time.
Aww.
So that's okay, lovingly.
Lovingly. That's a child's job, really.
Well... Hey kid, you gonna put any vegetables on that plate? Hey dad, you gonna make any money this year?
Teenagers are supposed to kick your ass. Teenagers are supposed to kick your ass.
No, it's great, and
I know,
he's
because I was
hilarious. Right?
I was the worst.
That's fair. Yeah. No, I mean, he's great. He's doing exactly what a teenager should. But also, like, I am a 35-year-old who lives in his parents' basement. And I love what I do every single day, and I have no idea what my financial quarter will look like.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying. So, typically I have like a mini crisis for my birthday, but I'm like super nice to myself about it. I'm like, it's okay, we're going to spend some time in the forest, we're going to play with sticks, we're going to talk to our inner child, and we're just going to have a great time. Maybe we'll have a hot bath and cry. It'll be great. Yeah. Versus like the January crisis is like, all right, we're hammered and we're crying on the porch and I don't know what I'm doing with my life and I'm supposed to be an adult.
Yeah, and I haven't worked in X amount of time and nothing's coming and I can't see anything on the horizon. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Feel that, been there, done that.
Right? It's the best part of the industry because, you can go to work every day and your performance is based on your triggers to your subconscious issues and your childhood trauma that you haven't really looked at. And you don't really have to look at it because there's so much structure and stability that you're still going to come home from a paycheck. You might be like, honey, I had a bad day at work. And your emotional Band-Aid, which is what I call when you're in a relationship with someone, is like, it's okay, let's just talk and I'll cuddle you and maybe we'll have sex and it'll be great, everything's fine. And you can just live your life without going deep. And that's what some people need. That's what works. So that's great. That's great for them.
Right.
But our industry forces you to be able to continue and to not have, you know, a horrible time or just dive into, you know, drug binges and all these things. It forces you to go deep. And then after you go deep and you experience that pain and you have those conversations with your psyche, you come out like, wow, we feel great. Why didn't we do that sooner?
Yeah.
So, you know, it sounded like sarcasm, and that's why I dove into this massive thing to qualify it. But one of my favorite parts of what we do is how much of my internal landscape and the beauty and joy and pain and love that makes up every single human, how much of that I've gotten to have time with. Thanks to the acting and the 2 crises I have every year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus all the minor crises. Like I usually have a small one after every audition, have to hold myself, you know, a small one again when I find out I did or didn't book.
Right.
You know, usually, and you know what's funny? Is if I have so I do the audition.
Yeah.
I have the little crisis. I hold myself through it. Everything's okay. On to the next. And then I think about how awesome it would be to get that role. And if I just kind of push that to the side and I'm like, everything is fine, on to the next, I might still book it.
Yeah.
Especially if I like forget about it completely and go on to the next.
Yeah.
But if I first take the time to have oh my God, I didn't book this, should I even continue life as an actor? I'm a piece of shit. If I have that crisis and hold myself through it before I find out whether or not I book it, one of 2 things happen. Either I don't book it anyway, and it just makes me happy because I've already had that crisis, and I'm like, didn't book it. Amazing. Or I book it because my energy, and this is where we get into the woo-woo stuff that some people may disagree with, but, you know, at that point, my energy is primed for, like, I am resonating with the freedom and joy of loving what I do and not caring about the results. And the results are like, oh, that's a very fertile soil for success. Why don't we plant in him the seed of this thing that he desires that he may experience it?
Yeah, it's hard
Might all be in my head.
No, I like the releasing and on to the next, I find is the easiest. It, like, once you, like, put it into practice enough and, like, you're not going to do it 100% of the time, period. It's just not going to happen 100% of the time. But I feel the best when, you do the thing and then it's just like, okay, and, like, I've done my work and everything else is out of my control. So, like, on to the next thing. But it is hard to be like, oh, I really love that role, and, like, dreaming up, like, what could happen and how it's going to be on set and how much money you're going to make and all that kind of stuff. So it's hard to go either way, like, either, you know, doomsday or dreamland.
100%. And I when I'm really on my game, I manage to just love the actual activity of what we do so much that, you know, the audition is its own reward. It's not about the gig. It's not about the money. It's not about anything except my chance to get to do something that I love so much, that I have left so much behind so that I can do this thing that I love that much, that getting to audition, you mean someone's asking me to do the thing that I love so much?
Right. It is the job.
Yes.
It is the job.
Right. And when you're in that mindset, you can just, it's like you burn very clean. Your energy is very clean. Your performance is just, you know, you make these choices, you develop the character, you develop what's happening in this moment for you in your internal monologue that is the character's internal monologue. And then when you sit into your deeper self and allow those choices, there's less, you know, there's less impurities in there between that and living in it to create the performance and the feelings and the actions from those feelings, you can just, it's a nice, you burn clean, you know?
Right.
Choices, emotional landscape, performance, it's a nice clean performance.
Nice.
Versus, you know, when I'm going, maybe, like, it is a skill to make those choices, and it is a skill to live in those choices to get the performance.
Yeah.
And I've spent a lot of time on that skill. And if you spend a lot of time swimming, you'll be good at swimming. And if you spend a lot of time trying to create choices to craft a character and then live in those choices, you'll probably be all right at it. So even when I have some impurities, I can still usually get a performance that most people are like, that was pretty good. The really sharp ones are like, too much. You know, because for me, like, you know, some actors, when they're not completely locked in, they're a little bit wooden. It's like you're watching and you're like, yeah, like it's not like it's over the top or anything. Maybe the emotions are there, but it just doesn't feel as real and raw and committed. Others, like myself, often tied to a theatrical background, which I have, or a wildly flamboyant personality, which I've been told I have.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
It's like, which you have.
I know.
Nothing wrong with it.
But, you know, so for me, when I have impurities in my landscape, it doesn't turn off my emotional choices. It makes some part of my internal landscape scared that I'm not giving enough, and that they're not going to see the choices and the emotions.
Right.
So if you're ever watching a Michael Masurkevitch performance and you're like, you know, it's good, he seems like is the character supposed to be a bit of an eccentric, or is the character supposed to be like extra really invested in this situation? Because he's just like, it's a lot, you know? Maybe he could have toned that down. That's okay. That means that in my process getting from there to there were some emotional impurities, you know. Maybe there was something unprocessed. Maybe, you know, maybe I yelled at my kid because of my own emotional issues, and then like am still feeling horrible because I've negatively impacted someone I love so much. Maybe I, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But you can tell it's there, or, you know, or maybe I really wanted the role, or maybe I was like, oh, I really want to impress the director, or maybe the director was yelling at me and I'm like, okay, really got to impress the director because he does not like me. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that little bit of impurity, when my energy came up against it, it was like, it was like, oh no, what if there's not enough here? Let me give more.
Right.
So that's typically, you know, when an actor is deliciously locked in and totally present in the moment, you just, you know, acting is like makeup and bureaucracy, in that when it's really good, you don't notice it's there. When it's really good, you're just like, I am watching this human deal with this moment and this emotion and everything in it. Wow.
Yeah.
Right? It's so real. There's no acting. Because when it's really good, you don't see it.
Yeah.
You know? If you're like, oh my God, it's going to take me 4 months to do my taxes and I have to go to this office, and I just want to get this, you know, minor variance passed on my property for my renos, but it's going to take 6 months. That's the bureaucracy not working. You're going, oh my goodness, look at all this bureaucracy.
Right.
When bureaucracy works great, you're like, yeah, I did the renos. It was great. I went to the city and they said, this is great, you know.
Right.
Right. But you can always tell, like when you can tell the acting, it just means, well, sometimes it means that the director didn't coach the actor enough on the choices to craft something that makes sense for the scene and the vision. Some directors are very minimalist and put that on the actor and like, yeah, just do the scene, and you're like, all right, I've crafted a bunch of choices from reading the script. I really hope that this aligns with the vision, and sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. You know, and then you notice the acting just because the choices aren't what they could be to fully embody and propel the story.
Right.
But the other version is, you know, there's something in the performance, maybe the stakes aren't quite right, and they're not high enough, and you're not feeling like the person is invested in the situation the way they should be. maybe you're feeling like there's a little too much and the person is overinvested. Those are the tells.
Right.
I'm usually an over-investor because I get scared and I try too hard in every facet of my life.
Sometimes it's a style. Sometimes it's like a, you know, how like the 1950s was like a style of acting, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so I think with certain actors, sometimes it's, well, you can always expect that kind of performance from this actor. You know what I mean?
That's true, yeah.
But I understand what you're saying, though, the working twice as hard when you're feeling like you might fall a little bit short, because I feel like...
And it never works.
I know. And I always feel like, okay, if I just get to this point, it'll be perfect. But then I feel like, but what if I get to that point and it looks stupid? So then I just don't. And that's like another block that's fun to work on as well.
Oh, of course.
But when you're auditioning and things aren't... I'm just going to move this. So when you're auditioning...
Sorry.
I just noticed. It blended in. So anyway... When you're auditioning and you get the negative start to spiral down of your, you know, this was crap or it didn't go well, I didn't book it. How do you get yourself out of that? Do you have any techniques or methods that you do? Or like, do you like to connect with nature? Do you like to just like paint or whatever just to get you out of it? Like, do you have any techniques you like to do?
What a great question. You know, you're really good at this, Allison.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
You know, I try.
That's a fantastic question. Definitely. And, you know, everybody has their process. Everybody has things that help. I love time in nature. I love athleticism. I love yoga because, and I find that sometimes emotional tension finds its seat in the body.
Right.
And yoga is literally like, you stand in a funny shape, you stretch a little, and then you feel where there is tension in your body, and you go and you address it, and you breathe through it, and I find that can really clean up the emotions as well.
Nice.
Chakra meditation, love my chakras. Guaranteed, if you're watching a performance and you're like, oh my God, Michael is so real in this moment, I ran through my chakras super quick before I dove in.
Nice.
Because it helps so much. We can get into the details of that if you want, but
up to you.
Okay, but the core of the technique, the core that it always comes back to is negative feelings always come from love, because everything comes from love, and this is how I connect with my characters on a deep level as well. Is that everything comes from love or a version of love. So if I'm mad at my child, why am I mad at my child? Is it because he did something? No, it is because I have placed some sort of stakes on expectation or expectations on some form of his behavior that when it is not met, hurts me. And that pain is because these expectations are there because I want the best for him. And when it hurts so much because of how much love and emotion I feel for this individual.
Right.
And it hurts, the expectation hurts because I am so excited for him to have the best life ever. And I just want to facilitate that and be part of that. And, and when it doesn't seem like that's happening and I have to let go of the expectation being part of it, or I have to let go of, of maybe him not getting to experience something a certain way, or maybe him dealing with something that I perceive as negative, that hurts, and I block that pain because it hurts, and then that pain leads to anger and aggression and whatever.
Right.
And my child is just an example. This happens in all forms of life. But when I peel back those layers, why am I so mad? Because there's so much pain. Why is there so much pain? Because I love this individual so much, and I am so excited for good things to happen for them. And that's every human with every interaction. If you peel back the layers, you find out that some part of you is trying to hold you back from this pain because that part of you loves you,
Right.
and that pain is so intense because of how excited you are for this thing and how much you love that thing and how much you love yourself and want yourself to get experience.
Right.
And, you know, and this little simple thing can be as easy and simple as, man, getting this role would be so great. I'm so excited for it. I may not get it. Oof, letting go of that is painful. I am not going to let you let go of that. You know what? We could dive in and feel this pain and let it fill me and let it transform through love into how excited I am to do what I do and how much I fucking love what I do and how excited I get about every opportunity to do it because I love it so, so much. Or I can just pretend it's not there because it hurts or I don't have time to process it, drink a bunch, yell at myself, yell at other people, and then dive back in.
Right. I've heard that you're right, everything comes from love. I've heard also it either comes from two places, as love or fear.
Right.
And so if you fear, like if you're scared of your child getting hurt or whatever, it just affects decisions. Or if you're afraid of not getting the audition, let's say, it just affects your choices differently when you operate from a desperate place of fear of like, oh, this can't happen, because it's going to hurt, rather than a place of love. And you're right, like it is easier to operate from a place of love and being like, oh, I love doing this. If it doesn't work out, that's okay.
100%.
Like, you know?
But so, I mean, I'm going to totally agree with that.
Yes.
And, you know, trying to control things or overact or, you know, give 6 takes when they ask for 2 because you want to make sure they know you can do this. Done that. Did not get a call back any of the times that I've done that. Because, you know, because following instructions and taking direction is considered to be a positive thing in our industry.
It's important.
Right?
It is important.
But, you know,
don't
that
step on toes.
the attempt to control that comes from fear, 100%.
Yeah.
But where does that fear come from? That fear comes from the part of you that wants this thing so badly that the idea of not having it is absolutely terrifying,
Right.
and is trying to save you from that horrible pain of not getting this thing you want and grasping on and trying to control it because that part of you loves you and doesn't want you in pain. And, you know, and we've been taught that emotional pain is not good.
Right.
And then we try to block it and we try to push it away because it hurts and it sucks. But actually, when you open to it, then you go, man, I'm afraid of this. Why are you afraid of this? Because at its root, it comes from love. And this is every character. And you know what? I love playing leads. I especially love playing losers because in life, I am secretly such a loser.
I call myself the coolest loser.
Yes. I think it makes for good acting because, you know, you feel that, you know, that depth of awkwardness and pain from trying too hard and not getting what you want. You have that catharsis in you, but like you can transform into art, so you're cool, right? Yeah. Right. So cool losers. That's all actors are.
Are you an only child?
No.
Totally random.
No, yeah.
No? Are you youngest?
Oldest.
Oldest?
Yeah.
What? I would have never guessed. I was going to guess only our youngest.
You know, a lot of people think that my sister is older than me because she's just a lot more mature.
Fair. Mine is too, but she is older, so
right.
I give her that excuse.
Sometimes I'm out with my son in public, and I'll be like, let's take this shopping cart. And he'll be like, Dad, please stop doing this. You're going to get kicked us out of another grocery store. And people are just like, oh, is that your older brother? And I'm like, no, that's my 17-year-old. He's just a lot more mature than I am.
That's hilarious. So you have one sister?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So 2 of you. And you're
great
oldest.
person, a nurse.
My sister's a nurse too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Actors and nurses.
So weird. Yeah. I think it's it balances
conspiracy.
out. It balances out. I heard that there's like a child study that's like if the oldest child is into like sciences or something really smart, then the next one's like, oh, well, you've got that, so I'll try something else. So it's not a competition. You're just in totally different fields.
Interesting.
And so, yeah, I'm going to go with that theory.
Valid.
And not that I didn't want to be a nurse at all.
Did you want to be a nurse?
No.
Okay,
no.
that's fair.
All of my backup plans were like, like doctor or lawyer, and I was like, but I could just play those and not go to school.
Yeah. Do you know what's funny? You know that thing of the biblical thing of the Marthas and the Marys, where the Mary cared for Jesus' emotional needs. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Let me wash your feet. Tell me about your day.
Right.
Some people say they had sex. Some people don't. I don't know. That's up in the air. The Bible doesn't talk about it. Versus the Martha was like, I'm going to cook for you. I'm going to clean for you. I'm going to make sure there's food for your disciples. I'm going to be there for you. They play within The Handmaid's Tale. It's really weird. I mean, they make all kinds of things weird, and it's brilliant. But I feel like growing up, both my sister and I were taught to be caring for other people, because I have great parents. All of my issues are my own fault. It's not my parents. I think. I don't know. There's child psychologists that, the psychologists have mixed views.
Yeah.
But they were great. They tried their hardest. I was just a basket case from an early child. My sister would go into classrooms. Teachers would read her name. She would be like, I am not like my brother. Practiced, rehearsed. She said it all the time. She would watch them sigh with relief, sip their coffee, smile at her, and she'd be like, just another day.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I'm nuts. But, yeah, and I think, my pathological childhood need for attention, which led me to acting, and I'm really grateful for it, just like I would when I was caring for people's needs, I would do that in that, loud, I'm here for you, let's talk about your feelings way.
Right.
Mary.
Yeah.
As opposed to my sister, who was more, quietly confident and would just make sure that everything was good for you and didn't need to hear about the praise and thanks later.
Right.
And sort of the Martha approach to caring.
Nice.
Neither of which is better. In fact, I feel like the
Sure.
Martha approach has more quiet confidence and less of a need for attention, based on my own experiences with it.
Fair enough.
But I wanted to say something.
Yes. Say
So, this thing of everything dialing back to love. I love playing leads, especially losers, as we've discussed. But sometimes I feel like it takes a lot for me to trust another actor to play the villain.
Okay.
Because it is so easy. It is so when you're developing your character for a lead or a best friend, it's easy to find the love at the core of the character and play from that place.
Right.
And if you can play from that place, then you connect with the one thing that's part of every single human, no matter what, and you can be really locked into any character. And it's very easy to find the love. But when you're playing someone absolutely horrible who is doing something absolutely horrible, and I speak from experience, the mental gym that it takes to unpack their character and be like, well, this is from love. No, that's horrible and twisted. Okay, well, is that from love?
Judge the character.
Well, this comes from terror. Okay, we can massage this. Okay, how does this come from love? Well, this was probably horrendous for them. Okay, the amount of homework that it takes to develop a character when that character is a villain, and still have that character still find that place at their core that is the core of every human and every character that is pure love. It takes so much more mental gym, and that means it takes more mental energy to get there. I played a guy who killed his best friend and then himself in the woods after losing his mind. I've played a lot of these roles, and I think the reason that I play these roles is because they're like, we trust you to get to that place of depravity and play this character in a real way that does not dishonor the loving core that is the base of every human, no matter how evil and twisted it has become.
Right.
And I am like, I don't, if they trust me with that, I'm like, okay, I will do this. I will honor the loving core that is at the depth of every human by going through the twists and turns to get to that horrible, tortured place to be able to play this person. So yeah, I would. it'd be great to have an on-set therapist or acting coach. You know, the best acting coaches are basically also therapists.
True.
Just going to plug Sophie Ann Rooney from Raw.
Yeah, do it.
Oh my God. And her acting class, and I mean, you know, she works with Grisha, who's amazing, and a little more like the analytical side. Her side is very much the intuitive, emotional side of acting. And, you know, we would start the class by just doing deep breathing exercises that I'm like, I recognize this from my guided meditations.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then we're like closing our eyes and seeing visions that we then bring to our characters.
Right.
You know, almost every class, at least 3 actors are crying. Like, you know how we talk about, like, you get to the end of an acting class with someone and you've seen their soul?
Yeah.
By the end of the acting class, I was like, you know, I really hope I get to work with all of these people because we have seen each other's core.
Yeah.
And felt so much empathy and love and pain from each other that I want to work with all of these people again.
Nice.
Yeah.
So nice. So are you still taking acting classes with them?
Well, you know, there's sort of this thing with the working actor where it's that I'm going to make up and say that that's a thing with the working actor and call myself that. I
You
don't
are
know
a
if I'm allowed
working
to.
actor. You don't
Well.
have to be working 24/7 to be a working actor. Know that.
Thank you. Yes.
You're welcome.
So, you know, that thing with the working actor where you're like, I just booked a commercial and I'm going to take a class with Raw. Oh, this is amazing. I'm in the zone and I'm booking things.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to let it ride for a while. It's been 6 months and none of my auditions have even led to a callback. I don't even know if I'm an actor. I've been writing poetry about birds. I love birds. When I look at birds, I just want to wring their necks. Acting class? I can't afford an acting class.
I know.
I don't even know if I have the cast to get to my next audition. Maybe I'll work in sex work. A friend of mine does that. They speak really highly of it. And then,
works for a lot of people.
right. And then,
But yeah, you're right. Like, you do have to ride the waves of acting. Like, I think that is like the acting career comes in waves.
Comes in waves.
Yeah.
Comes in waves. And I find that when I'm in that place where, you know, I'm writing poetry about birds, true story. You know, there's sort of this thing where it's so easy to block the pain and blame it on the industry or the strike or the blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And like, yeah, I can't afford a class because I haven't been booking because something about my energy just isn't working with the industry right now. So
Right.
I guess I'm just going to have to wait. But like, if anyone wanted to like hire me, that'd be like super, super good. And it's blame oriented, you know? And then at some point, I managed to break myself through that and actually address the pain and underneath the love of the fact that I am manifesting these experiences so that I can experience that level of scarcity, so that I can wrestle with it, so that I can figure out how much I love myself and how much I love what I do, so that I can find some way to be happy no matter what,
Right.
and maybe take on some landscaping to make money, and which was my summer, and maybe dive into a new writing project so that I can still be creating, and maybe just be happy with the piece of garbage that I am, and stop saying that I'm a piece of garbage, because that
Yeah,
doesn't
I was
help.
gonna say, I'm like, well, first off,
yeah.
you gotta stop saying you're a
Step
piece
one.
of garbage.
But then, you know, like I face it, I challenge it, I push through it, and then I allow it, and I do that little healing dance. And then I find this place on the other side where it's like, I haven't booked anything and I don't care. What's that, an audition? Great, I love auditions. Am I going to book this? I don't know. I don't care. If not, that's fine. I have a landscaping shift next week, and that
Right.
means I can at least afford to drive to the audition. Everything is great.
Right.
And then you get to that point where you feel great even though you're in that dark place. And then magically you get that call, or you get, like, I was in debt to my mom. Let's just take a moment.
The best person to be in debt to. She
Yeah.
charge you interest?
No.
Exactly. Best
Yeah.
person to be in debt to.
So, like, Hashtag privilege, I know. Hashtag insanely lucky. Hashtag support network that some people don't have. And if you don't, reach out to someone because everyone deserves that. But I was $5,000 in debt, and I was in that place, and I finally like found a different way through it emotionally, and then I found out that my agent had been busy with things and had forgotten to send me a check for a renewal of a commercial for like minus all the blah blah blah, like $5,000.
Nice.
Guess how much I was in debt to my mother? $5,000.
That's amazing.
Not in debt anymore.
You were saying while we weren't recording that you had taken some time off acting. Now, what brought you to that decision?
Yeah, well, I the audition grind was keeping me from a writing project that was really, really important to me. And that was a big part of it. I also, there were things that I needed to process in my mindset and in my way of being that were very deep, and and I like part of it is that like I had 3 really good gigs come in a row, and I'd been like, well, like I think in the summer I was like, hey, like maybe can we like lower the amount of auditions that we're putting me in for, because like I just came up with this writing project and I really just want to get through a first draft. It's really important to me, and I have a bunch of other writing projects, and they were like, yeah, totally, but like here's your auditions for next week. I was like, oh, those are great. So I just kept going, and then November happened, and a friend of mine approached me about an indie project, and got me to help with the casting side, but I was just not in the right place for it, and wasn't as mindful about it, and felt really bad about how I treated it later, because it's kind of just like, yeah, all right, cool, yeah, let's just get that done. And then that was part of what triggered some really deeper things that needed to be learned and processed. And then and I was just kind of like going on empty, and then I had these 3 great gigs, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing, so much forward momentum. And then I just kind of like everything crashed. And then when the dust settled, I was like, which took a while, I mean, you want to talk about like yearly crisis, whoo-wee, probably my best yearly crisis yet. Horrible depths, amazing. And when the dust settled, I was like, wait a sec, didn't I ask a couple months ago to have some time off for writing and mental health and emotional processing and doing more fun independent projects with my friends and not being worried about the grind of auditions?
Right.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Oh, and now I have money from the gigs that I got right before that happened. Oh, okay, so I guess we're gonna process feelings and reinvent myself and analyze the things that are inside of me that have triggered others that need to be like processed on a deeper level, right. and come out of that. So then I just did a bunch of reading, did a bunch of writing, dove further into the meditations, got more time with my kid, blasted through a bunch of writing projects.
Nice.
And and I think that it made me a better person, a happier person mostly, and I'm really excited about the writing that I got to do and about the indie projects. And it's funny, like auditioning is the craft of acting that we love, but with all of this mental roller and emotional roller coaster of like, oh my goodness, this would be so amazing, and I need the money, this would be amazing. Oh, did we get it or not? Oh, like the stuff we were talking about.
Right.
So taking a break from that, and and then I did an acting class with Sophie that was deep and moving and healing, and then I like took on some writing collaborations with some friends, and then I like finished the first draft of this thing, but came up with like 6 other concepts that are now all in the outline phase that I'm
Right.
just waiting for the right producer to pitch, and like helped a friend of mine like really push their project that I'm attached to.
So
and-
just finding that creative balance.
Yeah.
More like.
Right, and it was great, you know, and there when you're slinging in the audition game and you book a gig, oh, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
But when someone's like, hey, do you want to come do this short film? Maybe we can pay you, maybe we can't, or better, like, hey, do you want to come play this role in an amazing feature with an amazing team, or whatever. You know, and you don't have to go through the emotional roller coaster of an audition, and you can just be like, yes, I do want to do this thing that I love so much that you're actually going to use and help me market. It's just so nice.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm ready to get another agent and get back into auditions and get back into commercials.
Nice.
I think I'm finally ready. You know, I finished the first draft of a novel. It's 350 pages. It was a grind. That was the writing project that was,
Wicked.
yeah, and you know, and a couple of others. But like, I'm ready to get back in, but I'm also so grateful for the time to just act for fun.
Yeah.
And with friends and write and, you know, get into debt and do some landscaping to make money and take my kid to Vancouver for my best friend's wedding. Like,
Nice.
my childhood best friend, yeah.
Wicked.
So it was great.
That's awesome. So before we get into our last final 5 questions, we better plug your stuff
Final
that
5.
you wanted to plug. So, Regicide. Tell me about Regicide.
Okay, Regicide feature film by Dan McLeod out in Kitchener, and great crew, great team. Kitchener, I think it's the 3rd or 4th, 5th feature film coming out of Kitchener in the last couple of years.
Nice.
It is a thriller about alien body snatchers and a small group of friends, including this couple that is trying to hold it together even though they're on the outs, that has to deal with this mysterious and very difficult to pin down threat of the alien body snatchers.
Okay.
So
Wicked. And how was that experience?
that was great. It was great. 2 weeks at this summer home, but in Kitchener, so I could go home, see my kid, and go to sleep in my own bed.
Nice.
Really great team. Everyone on it, so fantastic. Some of them were people Dan had worked with before. Some of them were people that myself or Brian, the DOP, had worked with before.
Nice.
And it was just this group of friends just making something for the love of it. Small budget, but like big hearts. And
where can we watch it?
Tubi, Apple TV, Amazon Prime in Canada or US.
Wicked.
Sounds great.
Put the link below.
Yeah, yeah. And then what else
And
we
we
got?
had Hyperborean.
The Hyperborean is killing it right now.
Yeah?
It is about to play at Blood in the Snow Film Festival. Its world premiere was in Provo, Utah. Its Ontario premiere was the London Forest City Film Fest, then played at Hamilton Film Fest, Fog Fest in Newfoundland, Halifax in Nova Scotia, Soho something in England.
Oh, nice. So really just making its festival rounds.
It's now playing in South America as well.
Wow.
So the Hyperborean is Collingwood Films. They brought me in for a small role on Cult Hero, which is hilarious, and you can watch it on all those other things. Apple TV, Amazon, blah, blah. And these guys, Collingwood Film Company, led by director Jesse Thomas Cook, and they just, they have these zany, wild, fun horror comedy ideas, and then they work with these people that they love and who love them, and it's like a family making movies together, and it felt like I was this weird interloper being brought into this beautiful family who were all so passionate, and I was just trying to give them my everything because I was so happy to be there, and everyone in the movie just knocked it out of the park. It's
amazing.
It's really fun. It's funny. It's fast. It's intense at some times, and it's it's a very personal project for the director and his wife Liv, who plays the lead and is brilliant. and his friend Tony Burgess, who wrote Pontypool, who was the scriptwriter, but also just like, played the dad of this. It's sort of, what's that, the really rich toxic family? What's that show called?
Which one?
Okay. Well, okay, so Succession.
Oh, Succession. Oh,
Yeah,
so good. I just finished that not too long ago.
It's the horror comedy version of Succession with an ice mummy.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Fantastic movie.
Wicked. What else? You played the lead in Jim's Room.
Jim's Room.
Tell me about Jim's Room.
Found footage style micro budget feature. Literally, my friend Zach and I was helping him move, and he was, we had a bunch of friends there, and he was like, "Yeah, well, we got to paint the old house. You wanna help me paint too?" And I was like, "Oh, only if we make a movie about it." And then naturally, because of who we are, us and our friends who were there just started throwing around ideas for films.
Nice.
And someone's like, and it was like my previous gig had been Regicide. He wanted me to keep the long hair. And then I was between gigs, so I had a big beard. And one of them was like, well, Mike already looks homeless. How about a homeless guy gets kidnapped by a dude to paint his house? And we were like, ooh, what if a homeless guy gets offered a job on the street to come and paint some random stranger's house, who then starts like filming it so it's all found footage style, but like interviewing the guy, and you're like, wow, this homeowner is so caring. And then the hammer drops and you realize the homeowner is a sex pervert who wants to keep him forever as a slave, and the homeless guy has to escape.
Damn.
So that's Jim's Room.
Excellent.
It's very niche, it's very intense.
Snow Blinded is a special link. Can we put the link below
Yes,
for people
please.
to watch?
Yeah,
Absolutely. Alrighty, so tell us about Snow Blinded, and the link is below.
Snow Blinded is the first feature film I ever co-produced, and I think it's the first one I ever played the lead in. And it was my really good friend Brian Lockyer. We had done a couple of shorts together, a couple of comedic sketch shows together. And then this one time I was at a Comic-Con, like just because my friend runs it, Ron Hopp, Kitchener Comic-Con, and he's like, "Hey Mike, like we need an MC, you're an actor, why don't you talk to the crowd?" All right, so I show up in my pirate costume and I'm like, "All right guys, so over in the lounge we have blah 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 blah." And Brian's watching this eating popcorn, and he's like, "Imagine if this was your life. Imagine your life but shittier. You're an actor, but you failed at acting. Your massive crash and burning into acting led to a cocaine addiction, or led to alcoholism, and then you crashed out of that and got into rehab. But in rehab, you developed a coke addiction, and your best friend is a coke addict and is just always giving you coke. And your son lives with your baby mama. My son lives with me and my parents, and I'm super lucky and grateful. Your son lives with your baby mama and hates you. And it's your life, but shitty. And you dress as a pirate for events, and your name is Pirate Mike." So we made a web series called Pirate Mike.
Nice.
It's a hoot. I think he was going to put it on something else, and I don't know if it's available right now. It's on YouTube. It was on YouTube. We pulled it off for a Macedon TV channel, and I don't know where it is now.
But if we find out, we'll put it in the below.
Good call. Yeah.
In the file
Definitely put
below.
the teaser in the file.
Absolutely.
And then we were hanging out at my grandparents' cottage in Kincardine, and he was like, "I am having so many ideas right now for a weird thriller where you lose your mind in the woods." And I was like, okay. And then it took 3 years. Because we had a great guy who's an actor who doesn't like the cold, and he ended up backing out because we shot the interiors in November, and he was dying, and he was like, "If you drag me around on a sled in the woods, I will die for real." So then we brought in one of my best friends, Manny Brar, who's amazing, and he and I just had this great energy and charisma, so that went really well. But then we filmed the interiors and there was nice snow outside, and then there was like a freak snow melt and there was barely any snow left on the ground, and Brian and I had like a massive screaming fight, almost throttling each other, until I was just like, "If we had known this would happen, I could have brought my family's cross-country skis." And our fantastic, I don't know if it was Tomo Nogi, our second camera guy, Stephen Lockyer, Brian's brother who did sound, or Otis Morris, our script supervisor and PA and everything guy. One of them was just like, is there a place where you can rent skis in town? So we went to the Kincardine Ski Club, which I only know because my dad once took my family skiing at this remote park out of Kincardine where they have skis. And it was closed, but the door to the shed was open, and nobody was there, and we called the phone numbers. So essentially, we stole 2 pairs of skis with all the trimmings from the Kincardine Ski Club. And they're still in our special thanks.
That's hilarious.
And then we started filming. We got some outdoor scenes. It was great. Then there was a freak polar vortex, and it was too cold for the cameras. So then the next year we came back in, and the third year we had money for the effects.
Nice.
And it was just a labor of love. But the outcome was this wild, time-blending, psychological puzzle thriller with explosions of gore and violence peppered in between that just drags you into the depths of my character's childhood trauma and Manny Brar's character who's trying to keep his best friend from going psychotic, keep his best friend sane, but his best friend is his only way out of the forest to survive. So it's a high stakes buddy drama with some crazy violence.
And again, all the information to all of these projects will be below.
Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So, no problem. My pleasure. Thanks again for doing the podcast.
Trigger warning, Snowblinded has a lot of me running in the woods naked with only fake blood and ski boots. Yeah. It's got some nudity.
Trigger warning. If anyone wants to know, I'll be naked in this movie.
It's got some full frontal and a couple of men kissing. There's a man kiss.
Oh my god, I love how that's a trigger warning. I think
I'm just saying, like, there are probably people who don't want to see me naked.
Yeah.
I don't know who they are or what they're thinking, but I'm sure they exist.
We'll leave it at that. I was like, I have no comment that is good nor bad. I'm just gonna remain silent. Alrighty, so we like to finish this podcast with a fast 5 questions, and then we're done, and then that's it, and that's all she wrote.
I like it.
Favorite candy?
Wunderbar.
Favorite genre to watch?
Action comedy, but action dramedy with some real emotions in it. Ooh, and fantasy.
Yeah. Fair enough. That makes sense.
Like Pirates of the Caribbean. Boom, everything I love.
Oh, yeah, and Pirate Mike. It just fits.
There's reasons.
What's your pet peeve?
Paying for parking. Today, I jogged 20 minutes to have free parking.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I also like jogging.
Well, that's good. Good, hand in hand. What is a quote you live by or try to live by?
That's fantastic. All of Alan Watts.
All of Alan Watts.
Yes.
All of it.
Maybe specifically, if you could create everything, Alan Watts, Taoism. No, okay, I don't have anything specific. Oh, what's a good quote?
You said a good one before we started recording.
Yeah, what was that?
Do you remember?
No.
It was do less better.
Do less.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
It was something like that.
Do less things better. Do fewer things better.
Very well.
That's myself, though. Can I quote myself?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do fewer things and do them better, by Michael Masurkevitch.
We love it. And I think that's 5, but just in case I can't count, a piece of advice for other creatives who are just starting out on their acting journey.
When you are in any creative field, especially acting, your entirety, including your body, your mind, your soul, your childhood trauma, your childhood joys, your inner child, every single part of you is part of the instrument with which you create. So the more time you can spend playing with that and getting to know that and letting out your inner child and doing whimsical things, or creating this just purely for the sake of it, or meditating or crying or talking to your parents and people from your childhood about what you were like and what they were like and trying to heal those things, the more time you can spend getting to know that is time getting to know your instrument. This is very Sophie Ann Rooney, by the way. She would totally agree with this. The more time you spend knowing your instrument, and the more that every part of you can resonate like a violin with every fucking thing you create.
Beautiful. Love it. With a snap. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Your passion for the craft is evident in everything that you say and do, and I love it. And so yes, thank you so much for being a guest. If you like this episode and watch the end, let us know in the comments below. And if you want more interviews like this, subscribe to my channel. Okay, see you next time.